Welcome to the Strong Enough podcast, where we talk about the challenges and celebrate the triumphs of people just like you. I'm your host, Claudia. Today we have our very first return guest. He is here with his amazing wife, and they're going to share together how their relationship has transformed and why it works for them. Please help me welcome Sarah and Russell Luke. Russell and Sarah, I am so stoked to have you guys here today. Russell, I don't know if you know this, but you are the first repeat guest that is being recorded.
Yes.
So I know that there might have been a little competition between you and another guest who shall remain nameless, but you beat him to being a repeat guest.
Awesome.
So how are you guys doing today?
Good. Fabulous.
Yeah, doing great.
Right
Doing
on.
Better with that news now, so
Right.
that.
Yeah, we're done. So we're wrapping up. That was it. We just wanted to announce that. No, I am so excited to have you guys both here today because, Russell, I have to tell you that your episode sparked so much interest and people were really impressed, with how open and honest that you were. They were intrigued by a lot of things that you said about your guys' relationship. But the questions that I got were, okay, like this sounds pretty interesting, but we want to hear from her. They wanted to hear from Sarah and what she has to say about all of this. So I am thrilled, Sarah, that you decided to join us this evening and have a little chat. So if you guys, and ladies first, I think, just want to share a little bit about yourself, I think that would be amazing.
Okay. We've been together since 2010. I'm an artist. I have my own business. I sell stuff, painting mostly. We're very artistic. He's very outgoing. I'm way more shy. I guess that's an overall definition.
I think she started with the 10-year thing because apparently I got all the dates wrong.
All of them.
I wasn't going to say anything, but since you brought it up, you did get the dates wrong. So
Not even close.
Right. In fact, I remember when that episode aired, him texting me and like, shit, yeah, she just told me it was actually this. Yeah, no, this was actually that. So dates are not your thing.
No.
And I know that the audience knows a little bit about you, but anything new going on? Tell us where you're at with your apprenticeship and how that's going.
It's going pretty good. It's going really good. I still haven't been told to stop.
Perfect.
so that's definitely a good thing. Learning a lot. I definitely. It's funny. I just tattooed a friend of ours that I started, or actually we started about 2 years ago. And I was just comparing what I did on the tattoo versus what I did just yesterday or 2 days ago. And world of a difference. It was really cool to see that type of progression, so yeah, I mean, but everything is going good. Still get the shit kicked out of me, and being treated as an apprentice is definitely a fun experience. Yeah, exactly. And you'll probably hear that too. She can definitely finish a lot of my sentences. But yeah, I mean, it's going great. Can't complain really. And if I did, no one's gonna listen. So.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. You certainly could complain. Nobody cares. I'm guessing that being an apprentice is very much like when I was in rookie school as a police officer, and you get all of the shit calls and everybody makes fun of you. And yeah, it's just kind of that time that you hope goes by really, really quickly so that then you can do it to the next person. Am I right?
I cannot wait until the next apprentice comes in because I am going to
have fun.
Yes. And you know what's so funny is like we go through that and we're like, God, this was so horrible. I would never do this to somebody. Yes, yes, we would, because like they got to pay their dues as well.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
Right. Who do you think will be the next mentor in the shop?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna cap Joey out on this one. So I don't
Mhm.
think Joey's gonna be apprenticing anytime soon after me. I can probably say. Um, you know what? I would probably be a safe bet to say that it's gonna be the shop. I think everyone puts so much of their spin on things and everything else. I think it's going to be more of a shop apprentice than anything. Um, right now, we're just basically looking for just people to go to work. So the apprenticing part of it all is going to come a lot later. Yeah, I think I'm capping them out on this one.
I agree with you. Based on my conversations with him, I mean, he didn't want you. Nothing personal, but I think
I
he
get it a
didn't.
little bit. It's a little personal, but
I
it's
mean,
okay.
but yeah, I think he kind of is ready to wrap that up. How does that feel to know that you might be the last guy that Joey Hamilton teaches his craft to?
It's again puts a lot of stress on there.
No
Yeah,
pressure.
yeah,
Yeah,
puts a
no
little
pressure.
pressure on. None whatsoever. But yeah, it's hard to explain. It really is. I get lost of words sometimes, but I think I feel good about it because then I'm going to be the last one. But then there's so much things that that man does very well, and to hold that in or to not share it with a lot of people. But I think I can pass on.
Mhm.
I'm definitely not going to be at his level for a long time, but at least I can pass on the way that he treats me and the way that he teaches me,
Mhm.
to whoever comes along as well. So if I ever get a chance to be a mentor on something, it's like being a parent. You're gonna basically raise your kids the way that you were raised. So if you're gonna be in a mentor, you're gonna a mentor the exact same way that your mentor did you. So it's kind of, I feel like that way.
Yeah, I think that's true. And what I love, we talked about last time that you are a little bit older than a lot of people when they change careers, but Joey is older than probably a lot of people realize or think he is. And what I mean by that is that just shows how much time that you have still remaining to perfect your craft and help others do the same.
I look at that all the time. I think after Joey, Christoph is the next. No, I think Christoph, then Joey, or they're roughly around the same, and then I'm the one. Because we were talking about age today, which is funny, and with all the rest of the guys there, I'm older than they are. I'm older than Chris. I'm older than Brad. I'm just like, wow.
And everybody's taller than BJ. So
He's itty bitty.
yeah, he's so adorable. Well, Sarah, I want to ask you, with that career change, because that's a big thing to do. And I think I mentioned to Russell, my dad kind of did the same thing. Again, not as a tattoo artist, because that would have been not good. But when he was 45 or 42, he decided to go to law school. And so the whole family had to pack up and follow along. So talk to me a little bit about how that felt for you, when Russell said, you know what, I kind of want to flip everything upside down and try something new.
I think it was a lot easier to understand because we've been for a while. It was all part of the whole same changing up the relationship, changing up careers. I went more independent in my own business, but was pretty successful that it was something that we weren't too worried about finding what he wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to do, and he was just trying all these things. And it was like a sit down and think about what would make you happy, what you enjoy doing, what wouldn't be a job. Because I had that. I love art, so I do everything with that. And I think it helped seeing that I was being able to do what I loved was made it easier for him to be like, you know what, let me try this. Like, let me see if this is something that I could do. And then it was more nerve-wracking, I think, for him to actually get out there and take that step. It had to be me just like, do it. Like, if it fails, we'll figure it out. We always figure it out. But it's something that you need to try, because you need to be happy in not only relationship and life, but your career is a main thing of your life. So you need to be happy in that as well.
I love what you just said, that, you know what, if it fails, we'll figure it out, because we always figure it out. That reminded me of a conversation that I had with my husband, Lee, not too long ago. And it seemed to stem from each of our time growing up, because my mom was very much that way, that, you know, when my dad went to law school, like, we didn't have any money, because now we're a family of 5 living on my mom's income, but we always figured it out. And so that's kind of how I now approach things. Where do you think that came from for you?
I think it's very similar. I grew up with a single mom. There was 5 of us. It was a lot of struggling and trying to just be able to afford anything. I've been working since I was, I would say 12, 14, babysitting, all of that. So it's just something I've always been, I don't know, like, trained to do. Like, you have to figure it out. There's nothing that could be not fixable or not doable. If you just try something, you do something, you're going to figure out what will work or what won't work. But if you don't try anything, then you're just stuck and you just fall farther. So
Yeah, I think that's where both of us, you know, combined actually helps out tremendously. Because there's some times where she thinks of things and go, oh, I don't know if I should do that, and I'm just like, we'll figure it out. Go do it, because it's something where, you know, we grew up in this mentality. So it's one of those things where I was also, when we first started going together, we didn't have a lot of money. You know, I was, you know, dealing with my side and financial on my side and everything else. And she grew up exactly how she just explained. And just with us being together, it was just like, we'll figure it out. It's one of those things where, you know, yeah, we'll struggle, but
we've already struggled before, so it can only go up from here.
Yeah, exactly.
So Russell, you grew up kind of that way too, with that mentality. Or you have it now?
I learned it. My family wasn't very, you know, well off or anything like that, but I did grow up in a household where if anything like my brother and myself needed, we always got it. Or even if we didn't need it, if we kicked and screamed and you know, acted like children, like we all do, but we were always, yeah, not her.
What is he talking about right now? I don't know.
But it's one of those things where I did learn the value of $1 really quickly. But it is something where somewhere down the line, my family said, we'll figure it out as well. So, but I did learn that as a hard lesson for myself when I was growing up. So.
Sarah, I know you said that you are lucky enough or blessed that you get to do what you love as an artist, and you've been working since you were 12 or 14. How does it feel to be able to every day do something that you truly love, and that is how you make your living? How rewarding is that for you?
It's pretty fabulous. I was literally thinking about it, I think last week or earlier in the week, about how I've actually been pretty blessed career-wise and life-wise compared to where I came from and where I started, and what I've experienced in my life so far. Like, it's crazy to see everything I've done. Like, if any other person came up to me and was like, oh, well, this is parts of my life, I'd be like, that's really cool. And to know that that's how I've come from, I think I was starting around like 21 where the career started, and then more recently, I would say in the last 3 years, where it was more independent, me doing what I want. It's light years away. Like, it's crazy to think about, and it's a blessing, I definitely think.
I'm sorry,
You were just taking that all in. Like
I was looking.
he was just taking it all in there.
I was looking.
What I noticed that you just said there was, you know, from where you came and what you have now feels very blessed and you wouldn't have expected it. You don't have to talk a lot about what you may or may not have gone through when you were younger, but I think a lot of people have this mindset that if they come from a certain place, if they go through certain things, then they just can't ever be happy. They can't
Like
ever
you're stuck.
have what they want.
Mhm.
Will you talk a little bit to those people, because you clearly have crushed that myth and said, no, like I'm whatever I went through, like I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be somewhere that maybe I never imagined.
Yeah, a little background, like I said, my mom was a single mom. There was a lot of times where I grew up in Florida and I did not know nearly how expensive it was to live in Florida until we were recently looking like at moving back and how expensive it is. So a
Mhm.
lot of me growing up made a lot more sense because I could see how it would be a major struggle, especially with 5 kids. And she was a teacher, so we went to the school she taught at for my whole from baby to like middle school.
Mhm.
We moved a lot. We lost houses a lot where she couldn't afford it, so we got kicked out. We were homeless a couple times. We were living in other people's houses, like people would take us in, and this is with more than one kid. Like she had a bunch of kids, so we were fortunate to have friends that helped. But to worry about paying bills, having a place to live, we were washing our hair in the pool at some point. Like it was crazy to think that now I haven't once had to worry about a bill not being paid, not having a roof over our head. Like we've gotten different cars and, you know, we get a new cell phone when we need to, and we go to Disneyland whenever we feel like it. Like it's way different than I ever imagined it would be. I had no idea I would be living in Vegas and traveling to California all the time. Like it's so crazy to think of where I was versus where I am now, and not having nearly the stress or worries that I had growing up. They're nowhere near like in my mind at all. I don't worry about them. And it's really life altering to see how like where I came from to where I am.
Was that something that was conscious for you in that, you know, when you kind of grew up, were you like, you know what, I don't want to be that. I don't want to worry about bills. I don't want to do this. So was that conscious for you, or did you just evolve into this amazing badass who decided she was going to get what she wanted?
I think it wasn't as much a conscious thing as well, I have to. So when I was working, I was the oldest of the 5. So I had my little brothers. My sister was a few years younger, but she went to live with our dad probably around high school. So she wasn't there all the time, but I had to take care of them. So I had to, it's like you have to do what is necessary. They couldn't take care of themselves, so it was me. So I had to get a job. I had to pay for school clothes and food and, you know, part of the rent or the electricity or something. So because it was ingrained in me so young you need to work to be able to survive and to get stuff that you want, it kind of just continued until it became, okay, you've got what you need. Now what do you want? Okay, you've got what you want. Now what else is there? So I think it kind of just built up to where I'm now doing what I want to do because I've already done what I had to do. So it helped, definitely.
Russell, how is it for you to be with a woman that has made that progression of, okay, what do I need? What do I want? What's next?
It definitely pushes me to strive to be better. I say it every single day, whether it's to myself or actually to her. I am so proud of what she's done and what she accomplished, and what her future plans are too, because I know I'm already proud of it because I already know it's going to get done. So just being in that presence helps me. And going back to one of your first questions, it drives me to be better at the decisions that I make and the career change that I am going through. I can just take, classes. I have live-in classes here because she is one of those things where anything that she puts her mind to, she does it. She can do it. It drives me to be a better person, both as a husband and also as someone who brings in money into the household as well. So it's an awesome feeling.
So I'm going to address the elephant in the room, because I think what a lot of people, I know it's right behind you. I think what a lot of people are probably thinking right now is, wow, these two are perfect. They're amazing together. They complement each other, or as they say on commercials, they complement each other. So what made you two make the decision that you felt like adding additional person or people would make your relationship even better? And you guys can rock, paper, scissors, who gets to start with this one?
I think on the last podcast that we did together, I kind of touched base a little bit with it. I wasn't I slipped up. There was a lot of things that I've done in the past where it's just not right, and I tripped again, and I'll say it one more time. With her being able to pick me up from me being from tripping, kind of just sets the thing, so I can kind of like let her kind of say what her side of it all is. But yeah, that's I'll let her do that one.
I think what is like a major difference, like when I was listening to his how he feels about it in general and what we chose to turn into is a little bit different for me, because I would have never thought of it at all. It wasn't something that had crossed my mind, or something that I would have been like, hey, let's do this. But when we were having discussions or figuring out what our relationship was or was going to be, based on discretions and how we wanted to move forward, it became more about, it doesn't matter what you did, what are we going to do from here? How can we both be happy? So we talked about it a lot on what is important to each of us. And for me, it wasn't so much of being the only person, it was having trust. It was being able to be cared for and loved the way I needed to be. I don't care how many people are in the relationship, as long as I feel complete in it. That's what's important for me. So it was the same where he was like, I have all this love to give. I don't necessarily have a limited amount either. I'm just not necessarily looking for anything, but if it comes along, to know that it's something that I can have is something that I think is why it works for both of us. I know he mentioned before, like, he's very outgoing. He wants to go do things. I like being at home and have my little, book and movie and whatever, and I don't need to be adventurous and crazy, but I don't want him to miss out on that. So if I'm being loved and he comes home to me to watch a movie, but he goes skydiving with whoever, I'm okay with that. Like, I want us to both be happy and get what we both need out of a full relationship.
I do just want to say I will go skydiving with you. In fact, Vegas was my first skydive a couple years ago on Thanksgiving, maybe 2016. I think it was 2016, just outside of Vegas. So yeah, so I'm down to skydive is what I'm saying.
That scares the shit out of me.
Have you done it?
No.
Okay, so here's the thing. So people think, because this is what I thought, that you jump out of the plane and it feels like a roller coaster, where you get that like stomach drop and crazy, and that's going to happen for God knows how long as you're falling. It does not feel like that. It feels like you're flying, and one of the guys on the plane explained it all scientifically. I don't know what the fuck he said, because I'm like, I'm getting ready to jump out of a plane, like whatever. But apparently there is something scientific that it makes sense. But your body does not react the way it does like on a roller coaster. You legit just feel like you're flying. And
I've done indoor skydiving. That was great.
it's probably, and see, I've never done that, but I bet it's very similar to that
Yeah.
feeling. So highly recommended. I'm just saying, let's all go together. Group trip in October. Let's go skydive.
Skydiving.
So, Sarah, I want to ask you, and I know we've kind of tiptoed around it. Russell said he kind of tripped up. We don't have to get into that. I think we all have our own ideas of what that trip up may or may not have been. It doesn't really matter. What was it like for you to rebuild trust after that slip up?
Really hard. I would say even we're in a great place right now, but there's still some moments where I'm like, because when everything happened, I had that sixth sense that I knew something was happening. And to always be told that, you know, you're not right, you're crazy, whatever, and then to find out that I was right is like, now I have to listen to my sixth sense all the time. So when I think something's going on, I'm like, hey, the difference is now he's gotten better at being more open and honest, I guess, because of the way our relationship has changed, where he knows he doesn't have to hide anything. He knows that I'm not going to judge him. I just need him to be open and honest. And I know he touched base on it with the last interview. Like that was something really hard for him. He doesn't like talking about his feelings. He doesn't feel like it's okay to express them or to even feel them. So it had to be a major thing throughout this whole relationship figure out was, you can feel whatever. You have to know that I'm going to love you no matter how you feel. You can still come to me and say it, whether it hurts my feelings or not. It's better for you to say it than to keep it in. And I know you want to say something, but you're not saying it. That is a lot harder for us to get over than what it is you're feeling or saying.
And that is something that we talked about last time. And I think I might have said this last time. I don't want to put men in a category, but sometimes I do. I put women in a category too sometimes. But it feels like men often do that, where you know, it's like they'd rather lie because they're like, oh, I don't want to hurt her feelings, like I know if I say this, like it's gonna sting a little, so I'll just tell a bunch of lies instead and that'll be better. So Russell in the hot seat.
Yeah,
Now you know that that's not better. But will you talk a little bit about that mindset when you did feel that way?
It was, I mean, I can tell you it was tiresome on my end of it all. And I'm definitely not making any type of excuses and try to justify my behavior or anything. But like I said before, I sucked at communicating. It was one of those things where I just had to learn it. I had to be okay with sharing and expressing my feelings and things like that. It's still a little bit hard sometimes. Like I would come home and still be kind of mad about something and not say anything, but of course, you know, psychic over here would know something's wrong and she would just basically pull it out of me. But it is something where, again, it's, you know, you got to relinquish that feeling of holding it in. You know what I mean? You have to be able to communicate and you have to be able to express your feelings, knowing, again, still that it may hurt. But I feel like just, you know, not recently, but just since we've decided to go this direction, I think, honestly, I've really expressed a lot more of my feelings and how I see things now in life. A lot differently. And
I think once he knew that I wasn't going to go anywhere despite all going on up in here, he was like, all right, I told her my worst and she's still here loving me through it, so what could be worse? Like I can still express it. And I think that was the turning point for him in expressing himself, because he really didn't think that, at least I don't think that he thought that I would still want him. And I think once he realized that wasn't the truth, he was like, okay, well, I guess I can tell you what I think and how I feel and not be worried about losing you.
And you know, again, probably being in the hot seat, but you know, I would, maybe something is small to me, but I made such a big deal about it. Like I couldn't get it even out of my own head of how, you know, a small thing, and then I just kind of kept building and building and building and making it larger and larger and larger. So by the time actually it ended up coming out, it was way bigger than what it was supposed to be. You know, now I have that mentality in that relationship now where I can say it when it's small versus let me just blow it up and
Right.
you know, and go do something stupid, you know what I mean? So
It's never good when it blows up. And I think, you know, that's what happens so often is, I won't pick on guys anymore. People in relationships, they have that mentality though, and they're like, well, I can't say this. And so it builds up. I'm like, well, now I really can't say this. And then it keeps building up. And I think, you know, that's probably the sign though of a true love that Sarah, you know, you said he told me his worst and I was still here. I wasn't going anywhere. What I think some people might ask you, and it's my job to do that then, is, you know, did you decide to change your relationship solely for him? What's in it for you?
So I think that was a big thing when we were first talking about it, because like I said, it wasn't something that I really thought about. But it came to kind of what I touched on is, what do I want? What do I need? But also thinking about what he wanted and what he needed. And that's where a lot of relationships fail, because they don't find that middle ground. They're like, that's not what I want, so bye. And I was like, it's more important to me to make us work and figure out what would make both of us happy than what would only make me happy or what would only make him happy. We had to find that in between. It's like I said, where I would like to have somebody else, like he would like to have somebody else, but I'm not necessarily looking for it. He might be, because he wants to talk to people, that attention. I'm horrible at small talk, so it's not something, I take a lot to trust someone and to build a relationship. So it's not as easy for me, but it is something that I want. So that's where it was easy for it to be, yes, this is what we want to do together, because it was something we both wanted something from, or what would make both of us happy, what we decided on. And there's a lot of talking about it, and a lot of rules, and a lot of I guess regulations, I don't know the right words, but basically where we were like, okay, this is what I need, this is what you need, this is where we meet in the middle, this is what's okay, this is what's not okay. And then the main thing was just the trust and keeping our relationship a priority. If those two things were there, we can communicate. That was a huge thing. Then doesn't really matter what happens, we're still going to be happy and together. And that was the main concern.
Russell, when you guys had this conversation or started discussing, you know, different options for your relationship, how hopeful were you, or how, you know, how did you think it was going to turn out?
I thought it was going to get turned down, like, you know, but again, just opening up and really expressing that. I think I kind of caught her off guard with me opening up that much.
Right.
And I think it was like a kind of a big surprise. So it wasn't like the conversation happened right when I made the suggestion or that we were thinking about it. It was, again, soul searching on her part and soul searching on my part, and then meeting up, you know, in the middle, talking about it. And that's where the ground rule of this is our relationship.
Mhm.
Whoever we bring into this relationship, they are coming into our relationship.
They are an
It isn't an
addition.
addition. Yeah, exactly. It's an addition to our relationship. So our relationship will not falter, will not be less.
Mhm.
It's only a growth,
Mhm.
you know? So yeah.
I think last time we talked in the course of our conversation, we kind of went from talking about you guys having an open relationship to then deciding that you probably had a poly relationship. So Sarah, when you listened to that, what were your thoughts? Like where do you see your guys' relationship and what you are inviting in now?
It's definitely, that was something that I noticed as well when I was listening. I was like, that is very, very much where people would consider like really wondering what it is, and where they question the poly versus the open. I think it kind of started as more of an open thing, but then it became, no, this is a poly thing because we want to both be involved. We want the person that he's talking to has a relationship with me, not necessarily like a sexual relationship or an intimate relationship, but some kind of friendship, some kind of something, because he can't be talking to somebody or with someone that doesn't have respect for me, because that will just ruin everything that
Right.
blows up in everyone's face. So it became more of a another sit down discussion, like, okay, this is what we're figuring out doesn't work. So it needs to be something where we're both involved, where you're like, hey, I'm talking to this person. Oh, great. Tell me about them. Like, what are they? Let's, plan a movie night or something where we can start building a friendship all together. And then if it goes from there, then it goes from there, and we'll see, what happens at that point. But when we first started it, when it was more of like an open thing where he was having a relationship and we did try and be friends, but I could feel that they didn't necessarily want to be friends. They wanted to be a priority. They wanted to be what I was and didn't really care that I was there. And that became a major issue because we realized as a whole, like, obviously if that person doesn't respect us, then they can't be with us.
Right.
Just being with anybody, if even a friend, if they don't respect our relationship, we shouldn't have them in our lives. Like, we are a priority. So that's something that we learned. Friends, relationships, just in general.
I love that you just said that. And I want everybody to hear that. Even with friends have to respect your relationship. And that's so important because I think, a lot of us do, when we're married or in a relationship, it's like he has his friends, I have my friends, and that's okay. But if you don't have that respect for one another and for the relationship, it's not really okay.
Yeah.
It's not
So
healthy. It's not healthy. I mean, you're basically adding another wall in between the person that you want to be with. You know what I mean? It's that the instance that she was talking about, was our turning point of it being an open relationship to a poly relationship, and it built a wall where, thank goodness, we recognized it quickly. And and it can be translated into friends too. If a friend is starting to build a wall in between your relationship, they're not really your friend.
Or that negative ear thing where they're just saying a bunch of negative stuff about the person you're with.
Right.
You don't need that. They're like, if you feel that way, then we shouldn't be talking, or we can't be friends, because I don't need someone who is basically talking trash about the person who is important to me. And that's friends and everything.
I totally agree. And, and I've had relationships before, friendships, where the person that my friend was dating, eventually married to, like, wasn't that great of a person. And I just said, you know what, like, we're just not going to talk about that. Like, I'm not going to badmouth that person because that's not fair. But we're just not going to discuss it. So like when he punches you, like, please don't come crying to me because like we're just not going to talk about it. But yeah, I think you're totally right that friends have to respect your relationship just as much because that could drive in that wall.
Mhm.
Russell, you said that you guys realized what was happening with that previous person. Who do you feel like realized it first? How did that come about? Right. The
Right away.
psychic, right?
Yeah, right away. And that's why, again, going back to the previous interview, it would kind of hurt me,
Mhm.
and it took me into a bad place because it's something that I really didn't want. I didn't want to hear it either. So it was one of those things where I had to not only, like, so I say I got to feel comfortable with saying things to her and not have, and even though it might hurt her, I still got to say it. It's the other way around.
Mhm.
She's got to do the same thing to me and make me snap, or
Understand.
understand. Yeah.
Or
And it's one of those things where, again, she was telling me and go, hey, this is not going to be right. This is not the direction for us. This is
Mhm.
not where we want to be. You need to start seeing this. And then when it started happening and when things started,
where he couldn't be blind to it. He was
Mhm.
very blind to what I could see not being a part of it.
They are so like that, Sarah.
Yeah, for real. I was
It's
like,
true.
how
I'm
do you
not
not
gonna-
see this? How are you not seeing what I'm seeing? Like, no, it's not like that. Oh my gosh, yes, it is.
but and this is where the learning experience and the experiences that we've had, and the people that have been in our lives, it's one of those things where it's a learning process,
Mhm.
because that was like the major one, I guess you would say.
Right.
Little bits here and there, and people who've been in our lives and stuff like that. That was the major part, and I didn't want to let it go. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? I was like, okay, I got somebody. I'm not going to let this go. So again, I'm there with like this blind. I'm not
Mhm.
seeing anything other than what's in front of me, and she just basically said, like, took it off me and go, this is
Like, you
what's going
can't
on.
Mhm.
ignore this.
Yeah,
Like,
don't ignore this, because this is not the direction that we want to be in with together and our relationship. Again, remember, I told you, I didn't learn this. It's definitely a learning process.
Mhm.
I'm a lot smarter now.
because he listens to me more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm. Wow, this is
This is fantastic, is what it is.
I know it, you know what I mean? And that's one of the things, I know it. I know that sometimes I do get blinded by love and friendship and stuff like that, where she kind of pulls me back in, to make sure that I understand it. And sometimes I bring things to the table and
Mhm.
say, this is what I've noticed. And she's like, yes, I'm glad you noticed it. Thank you very much. Things like that. So, but yeah,
I just had to learn how to,
talk my language.
kind of, to get him to see what I was seeing, but in a way where he could see it. Because
Right.
me just saying it the way I see it, he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So we had to hit a point where there were things that couldn't be ignored, even as someone with blinders. Like, it was straight
Mhm.
up smack you in the face. So
Right.
once he was like, oh yeah, that's not good, then it was realized all around.
How tough was it for you, Sarah, to watch him grieve a little bit at the end of that relationship?
It was really hard, because like he had said, I couldn't do anything. It was hard on me because it was what he said, where it did feel like I wasn't enough because he was hurting over it.
Mhm.
But and he still had me, so why is he hurting so much? But I had to kind of pull myself away from the situation, which makes it work all the way around when I do that a lot of the place. Like, if you weren't, speaking of myself, if you aren't like part of something and someone is hurting, like, you have to look at why they're feeling this way, what you can do. So I just had to, keep telling him, like, support wise, like, I'm here if you need to talk about it, I'm here. And he didn't really want to, because it's like he said, where he's talking about another relationship and he didn't want me to feel bad. But still, as his best friend, I'm like, you can talk to me. It's not, I'm not going to judge you, I'm not going to take it personally, but I want you to know that I'm here, because I don't want you struggling like this, like as if you're doing it alone. So it was hard all the way around. It had to come to the point where he was like, all right, let me, express what I'm feeling, and as my friend, help me understand that what I did was right, or what I did will, lead to something better, and it's better all the way around, like understanding exactly why it happened and how it was not necessarily a bad thing, but to understand that yes, you did have feelings and now you're hurting. That is understandable. So
do you feel like, to make this successful, that you kind of transition from wife and husband to best friends, to have these different types of conversations and understand what each other are going through?
definitely, yeah, it's a lot easier to consider it, not necessarily as how does this affect me. I think when it comes to being in a poly relationship, that's something that I really kind of lean more towards it, because it's not focusing on just me or focusing on just him. It's not a selfish type of relationship. And that was something that I kind of, when we were having all these fights about, how are we going to work? What's happening? Why are we struggling? It was because there were times when I was selfish, and I didn't think I was selfish. This was how we've always been. He's very much of the man who's like, it doesn't matter what I want. I'm here to be there for you and give you what you need. And I was just there to take it, because that's how he's always been. And I had to come to realize that isn't fair. I need to be like, no, what do you want? What do you need? And not let him put it back on, doesn't matter what I want, it's what you want. So that's where I think doing it more as like a friendship, it's a lot less about me, and I want to help you, I want to be there for you. It doesn't matter what it means to me or how it makes me feel. I am there for you.
I get to pick the restaurant sometimes.
Sometimes.
on the lighter side of it, but kind of piggyback off Sarah, there's like, yes, we're best friends, but first and foremost, we're husband and wife. It's, again, like I said, it's like we can throw things off of each other and be that side of the friendship side of it all, but for sure, I know kind of, it sounds bad when I say it, but I know my place. Like, I know I'm the husband. She knows she's the wife. We're together. That's us. Friendship comes in, and the best friends things, and how we can bounce and how we can talk to each other strengthens that husband and wife relationship.
And sometimes you get to pick the restaurant.
Sometimes I like tacos, okay?
That is fantastic. Sarah, I would love to hear a piece of relationship advice from you that you would give out to, let's make it fun here. Give it out to the ladies. What would you tell them?
Trust your instincts. Know to not judge. You can't expect someone to be honest if you are going to take what they tell you and make them feel bad about it, or feel like you don't want to listen, or that it's not important. I think that's the biggest thing for women, because we know when we're right. We don't want to be told when we're wrong. So when someone's coming at us saying that's not how it is, you don't want to listen. And you have to understand that doing that makes someone not want to come to you at all. So you have to be open and accepting. And that's just as a person in general. It just helps a lot more in relationships, because overall you won't have so many fights or so many issues if everyone knows that they can be heard and that they matter. I think I heard something recently that you shouldn't be trying to win an argument. You should be trying to understand the other person and come to an agreed upon decision. It's not about who's winning. And I think that's like very, very important, because when you do argue, it's not, I need to win this argument. I want us to both be heard and to know that we are both understood and we go away mutually accepting of each other. And that's really important for relationships in general.
Where did you get this amazing level of relationship maturity? Because so many people just don't have what you have, and it's great. So like, how did this come about?
Yeah, so it's funny, because this is literally the only like relationship I've ever been in, only guy I've ever been with. Basically, like, I don't have all this experience, like I'm not, you know, a world traveler or whatever. I think what it helps, I've always been very in touch with other people and how they feel and how it works, since I was little. So it's been something, even when I was in high school or college, helping my friends and understanding and helping them through their relationships, just in general, because I pay so much attention to how people think and how they feel and what's important. And I read a lot. I don't know, it's the insight of so many different minds that it kind of helps me stay outside of the box, to know that it's not necessarily what I think and only what I think that matters. There's so many other opinions and so many other views that you have to see all of them in order to be a human, I guess, to be able to interact with people and know how to, and to understand people, I guess, is the biggest thing. When you understand something, it's a lot easier to communicate and just be accepting and all of that.
You may have a second career as a relationship coach. So just putting that out there.
I'm okay with that.
Putting that out there. So Russell, you now get to share a piece of relationship advice to the guys, but you can't use communication. So you gotta pick a different one. So what
goes to?
Yes, what other than communication are you telling the dudes today?
Something emotional.
Something emotional. I
really stumped you, huh?
You got me on this one, because it's like, since I sucked so much about communication, I think that's like always my go-to.
What about honesty?
I was gonna say something. I would be more mindful of the bigger picture and things like that. I get lost, you know, in just everything. And we were joking about this the other day. It's like, sometimes I get lost and she's my personal GPS. So she reels me back in, but also you have to relinquish that type of control. So I guess one of the things that I would recommend, or a piece of advice that I would give guys, is don't feel like you have to, you know, control every single situation. Relinquish that some of that control. I'm not saying, you know, here you go. One of those things where it's like, it's a shared thing. So be okay with sharing that type of control, because if it doesn't, it goes all haywire. You know, one person controlling something can not necessarily be a great thing. You know, when you have this type of relationship, or any type of relationship, there's a give and take. Exactly. There's, you know, you have to give control to your partner, or so they can help you go through the whole process. So I think that's a good one, other than communication.
And honesty.
Honesty, yes.
We heard that pop in there as well. So we are going to wrap things up here shortly, but of course, we are not going to wrap it up before we have some talk about tattoos. So, as you both know, I love tattoos. I have a lot of tattoos. I'm working on my next tattoo. Sarah, has Russell ever tattooed you?
Yes, he has. Couple
So
times. Few times.
multiple times?
Yeah.
What is your favorite tattoo that Russell did for you?
No, I mean I like it, but I have 2 skull hands separating a wishbone like on my sternum and under ribs. I think that's the one I'm constantly looking at like, oh my gosh, I love it.
Mhm.
So I would say that one's my favorite.
Russell, what is the favorite tattoo that you have put on her?
That area right there is always the best one. I'll be the guy in that situation. I love all the tattoos because I feel honored that she would trust me to do that. Especially how early I am in my apprenticeship and my stages of tattooing. But my favorite one, and I said I was kind of showing it to her. So we love Disney, as we all know. So I tattooed a D on her finger, and I think that one right there, I think
It's the most fun.
It's the most fun because it is the middle finger, and it's like, you know, give everyone the D. So
you have the big D on your middle finger.
Yeah, yeah,
Right on.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's the favorite one. I have other plans about things that I would do now on her arm. So I can't wait for that project to happen if she's kind enough to give me that trust again. But yeah, I think that's my favorite one.
Would you ever let her tattoo you?
Oh yeah, she's tattooed me before.
Right on.
Yeah, absolutely. So
a lot of tattoos.
A lot of, like, I would probably say my whole sleeve on this arm is her. Both my legs are hers.
Nice.
I'm quite good.
Yes, she is. She's really good.
We had a lot of downtime in quarantine and
learned a lot of new things.
Well, let me try it because I went to art school. I draw and paint
Actually,
for a
it happened
living.
before that, though.
Was
I mean,
it?
it was so again, art, it helped me go through the quarantine thing. But we've had machines prior to that. She was tattooing, I think, or tattooing me
maybe like the year before.
A year before quarantine. So and with her art skill set and everything is because she does a lot of wood burning, so you have to have a steady hand. So we bought a machine, and then we practiced, or she practiced on me. I would say really pretty much
like 70%
of them came from her.
Really?
So, yeah, and it's funny because Joey always says she has a job. Yeah, it's, you know,
I would totally do it.
So maybe there is one more apprentice for Joey.
One more, probably. I don't even think it would be an apprenticeship. He was like,
hired.
Oh, he was like, yeah, she's hired. She was like, oh, these lines are way better than yours. So she's hired.
I love it. Sarah, what's the next tattoo that you want to put on him?
I think I'm running out of space.
No, you still have like your whole side. I still want to do thigh tattoos. I want to do another one on your thigh. I don't know what I would do, something badass. I know for mine, I have a lot planned for mine, but they're more complicated.
It's okay. It's okay. We've talked about so much rough stuff today. I think this is fine.
Yeah. I just don't want to be. I'm very picky on my artists, and I usually draw them and design them, and then say, tattoo this for me. I don't allow interpretation or whatever because I know what I want and I know how it fits the body and how I want it to fit my body, and so I'm very it's
the worst but the best client that you can have.
I have to pre-warn them, like, I'm gonna give you the design, you're gonna have to be okay with it. And it's funny because the artists that I've had do my work, they were like, no problem, I know you know what you're talking about. So it's hard for me to settle on who I want to do it because I want so specific pieces and styles and stuff. So that's where I have so many plans, but I need to find someone I trust to do it the way I want to without being pissed at me because I'm like, no, do it like like I say.
So not counting Russell, maybe what's the next tattoo that you want? Whoever does it.
You can do the
No, I want to
Forward.
fill this space. I have an empty space here that is like a silhouetted girl in a Parisian window with some cherry blossoms and some letter, like an old Paris love letter type thing, that I want to fill in that space. I'm very nervous in that spot. I had an appointment scheduled literally March that we shut down for quarantine, and it got canceled because we quarantined, and I haven't rescheduled it since then because I'm so scared to do that spot. But I want it because it's just this big empty space and I need to fill it. That would be my next one for sure. I have my whole forearm planned out. I'm thinking about doing a big chest piece. So I have a lot that I want to do for sure.
And I'm hoping that I get to do some, because a lot of the ideas that she has, I'm like, that'd be awesome. I really want that. I want to do that one. And you know, I do have to say sometimes some of the stuff that she does bring, you know, when we talk about tattoos and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready for that. You go find someone that can definitely do that. So, but there are some other ones where I'm like, I can totally kill that. So I can, you know, I'm just waiting for the good time and the right time for what I'm capable of doing and what she feels comfortable me doing. But again, that's gonna be all her.
I appreciate that though, that you have that understanding that, like, you know what, a little bit of this is like maybe outside of my wheelhouse right now, because a lot of people would be like, hell yeah, I can do that.
Like, I can do it.
And then it would look like not good. So I appreciate that you are like, you know what? Yep, you go see somebody else for that one, but let me try this one. I think that's awesome.
Well, I'm really starting to get into color because I don't know if you the latest one that I did, the feather.
I saw that.
I was freaking in love with that because I went back to my I
might have given some tips.
But I went back to my old school drawing and coloring style. You know, style, and I think I felt a lot more comfortable doing that tattoo than the most recent ones that I've done. So I was really liking the way that color came out. So anytime that she does color, I'm just like, ooh, what are we gonna do?
I agree with you in looking, and I am obviously no expert. I'm like the Dave Navarro of the Ink Master crew. I'm just a person that has a lot of tattoos that talks about them. I thought the feather was technically better than some of the other more recent things, and it probably was because you were like more comfortable with it and kind of stoked about it. So I agree with you. Sarah, I know you mentioned earlier that you're an artist as well, and I have seen some of the stuff that you do. It's freaking amazing. So I would love it if you would tell people where they can find you. So if they want to learn how to be so relationally mature like you, or if they want to grab some art, or if they want to get just like a rad tattoo from somebody who isn't officially a tattoo artist, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram at Heart Lovers IG, and that's HART. I have a Heart Lovers on Etsy where you can see all of the stuff that I do. Again, HART, kind of like Art Lovers, but with an H. Those would be my two main platforms that I'm on.
Perfect. And Russell, I know you shared last time, but once again, where can people find you if they want a tattoo, or if they want some advice on, you know, what restaurant to pick every now and then?
On Instagram, Russell_Lou, LOO, is my personal page, so you can ask all the personal questions there. 11 Main Street on Instagram as well, and then TikTok. The dances.
Are we doing the dances now?
TikTok. He's obsessed.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with it, but I also suck at lip syncing. So she would hear the sound bite for like a good 30 minutes. Yeah. And she was like, "Are you done yet?" I'm like, "I could have finished this a long time ago." But anyways, so on TikTok, it's 11_tattooing. Right. Yeah. 11_tattooing is.
I'll find it. I'll make sure we get it right before we air this episode. I'm gonna have to check it out because I need a good laugh. So And
I
don't
am
forget,
funny. I am funny. I say to myself, I'm a very hilarious and funny guy.
To himself.
To myself.
yeah, that's what all the lame people say to themselves.
Wow.
Totally kidding. You know I love you. You know I love you. And don't forget, you can visit him at Revolt, but only for business purposes. Only for business.
I'm telling you, Joey will knock me out with some type of stick or something.
That is right. Yeah, that random stick he carries around all the time.
Mhm.
You guys, it has been such a blast to have a conversation with you. I am so grateful that you guys decided to share another hour of your time with me, Russell, and Sarah, for you, the first hour of time with me. I feel like we might have a one-on-one show coming up in the future. So thank you guys both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with Russell and Sarah as much as I did. I truly appreciate how open they were about the struggles that they've been through and how they worked through them to become stronger and better together in a way that works for them. So remember, until next week, you are strong enough and you are worth it. Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. And on YouTube, we're on the Spear Talk channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.